As we saw, during the time of Jahangir, Prince Khosrow led a revolt against Jahangir, and Prince Khurram, later known as Shah Jahan, as we would understand about him in this section, was the one who led a revolt against his brothers. So, Prince Khurram led a revolt against his brothers and defeated them, and as a result came to throne. He was also the one who was able to have partial success in Ahmednagar, defeating Malik Ambar and won the Ahmednagar fort, and therefore he was known as Shah Jahan, meaning the ruler of the world. He was in power from 1628 to 1658. He was one of the kings who was known as the engineer king because of the marvels that he created. One of the seven wonders in the world, Taj Mahal, was built by Shah Jahan, which we would understand in a while. Now, Shah Jahan's rule is very interesting. This is the period where minimum number of revolts and annexations was seen, a time of high peace and prosperity during the Mughal Empire. The state was rich, earned a lot of income, and Shah Jahan was one who issued the heaviest gold coins. Even these gold coins were given as gifts. Also, one of these gold coins is preserved in Switzerland as of now. But Shah Jahan also saw a decline due to his policies of pomp and show. As a result, there was huge sum of money which was invested into war, into buildings, into maintaining the expeditions, entertainment purpose, and therefore later periods saw the decline of Shah Jahan. Now, if we focus on the annexations, as we said, during the reign of Shah Jahan, more or less it was a peace and prosperity that prevailed. Despite of that, few uprisings were seen. One of the most important ones among those was Bundelkhand. In 1627, Raja Jujhar of Bundelkhand revolted. However, he was defeated. But he did not stop. He came back again in 1635 and started a revolt again. However, he was killed at that time. So, Bundelkhand was one of the centers that raised voices against the Shah Jahan, but was ultimately not able to survive. Shah Jahan at this point of time was planning movements towards the region of Central Asia. Considering that he has his lineage from Central Asia, from the Mongol ancestry, and even the Timur's exploits were taken into account, but he was not successful in moving towards the region of Central Asia. Kandahar, at the time Jahangir wanted him to go to Kandahar, he refused, as we have understood when we focused on to Jahangir, that how Jahangir wanted Prince Khurram, or now known as Shah Jahan, to actually capture the region of Kandahar, which was under the Akbar's rule, but it was occupied by Shah of Persia. So, during the time of Jahangir, Kandahar was lost. Kandahar again was secured by Shah Jahan later, but again in 1653, it was lost to a Persian ruler. Now, the next important development during the time of Shah Jahan were Portuguese relations. As we saw, the Portuguese relations started to decline during the time of Jahangir because Portuguese so far were having good trade relations, good concessions, but at this point of time, Portuguese pirates were moving in, which were destroying the ships of Mughals, the cargoes of Mughals, and as a result, the trade relations became troublesome. So, what happened during the time of Shah Jahan? During the time of Shah Jahan sent one of his generals to the region of Hooghly or Chinsuhar, and there the Portuguese settlement which was established in the region of Bengal was finally captured. So those are the developments that we have seen. The next was Deccan. The Deccan region itself was very interesting. During the time of Jahangir, as we have seen, partial success was seen in the region of Ahmednagar, and later on during the time of Shah Jahan, three of the regions were seen, which was Ahmednagar 1633. Then we have the region of Golconda in 1656. Before that, Bijapur in 1636. So those were the three major areas. Now, two of the regions, Bijapur and Golconda, never subdued. But Aurangzeb was made the Subedar and he led the campaign in these of the states. Aurangzeb was who? Aurangzeb was the son of Shah Jahan. However, as we said, these two provinces, Bijapur and Golconda, never were under the Mughal Empire, but they, during the period of Shah Jahan, but they paid heavy tributes to Mughal Empire. This helped Mughal Empire increase the finances and reserves. So, the strength, the financial strength of the Mughal kingdom got a further boost because of the two kingdoms, Bijapur and Golconda, who were ready to pay heavy tributes to the Mughal Empire. And that time, Khan Jahan Lodi was the Subedar of Deccan and he revolted. Finally, he was killed and Shah Jahan wanted that all the Deccan states should subdue, but Bijapur and Golconda did not subdue but were ready to pay heavy tributes. Very, very important to note. So, this was the story in the Deccan. Now, how was the Shah Jahan's end of life story? Now, Shah Jahan during his time established art and architectural marvels, but his later life was not that happy. He had four sons, Dara, Shuja, Murad and Aurangzeb. All of his four sons revolted against him and it was Aurangzeb who defeated all of them and became the emperor in 1658. Aurangzeb imprisoned his father and killed two of his brothers. Later on, Shah Jahan died in captivity and that was in 1666, 8 years after he was off the throne. In 1658, Aurangzeb came to throne and since then Shah Jahan was in captivity. He lived in captivity for 8 years and had his last breath in 1666. Now, what were the architectural wonders during his time? The first of those is Taj Mahal. As we know, Taj Mahal was built in the memory of his wife, the wife of Shah Jahan, Mumtaz Mahal. Her another name was Azurmand Banu Begum. Now, what is so special about Taj Mahal? We all know it is one of the wonder monuments. Best builders, best architectures were involved. Nearly 28 precious stones were brought from across the globe to build in the monument of Taj Mahal. The monument is actually octagonal in shape with 4 minarets, as you can see at the 4 corners of the monument, and the whole structure also has an extensive garden. Also in Agra was Moti Masjid, which was also known as the Pearl Mosque, which was built by Shah Jahan. Now, where and what things were brought? So, the dome of architecture was the style which was taken from Turkey. The architecture of the tomb was taken from Iran or then Persia. The decorative motifs were brought from, the idea was brought from Shiraz, and Shiraz was again in Persia. The garden tomb idea was brought from Afghanistan. The water acting as mirror was the concept which was brought from Kashmir. So all of those were the concepts that were brought from different parts of the globe. It was not just the concept only, but also the semi-precious stones and the material which was brought from across the world to build this monumental structure Taj Mahal. How? We see that within Agra, bricks were made locally. Jasper was brought from Punjab, turquoise was brought from Tibet, Jade and quartz was brought from China. Quartz is also known as crystal stone or sphetic. Blue sapphire was brought from Sri Lanka. Lapis lazuli from Afghanistan. Carnelian from Arabia, red sandstone from Dholpur, and white marble, of course, from Makrana marbles in Rajasthan. Now, these were the regions from where semi-precious stones were brought to build the monument of Taj Mahal. More than 1000 elephants were employed for construction of this structure. But this was not the only structure. It is interesting to note that after the death of his wife Mumtaz Mahal, Shah Jahan shifted his capital back from Agra to Delhi and renamed the region as Shah Jahanabad. Now, Shah Jahanabad, the new capital, had two important buildings. One was the Red Fort, the other was the Jama Masjid. Red Fort has been historically important. It is also having a present day significance where we have the flag hosting ceremony every 15th of August at the Red Fort. Now, what were the main sections of Red Fort? Red Fort, some of the major sections were Diwan-e-Khas. Diwan-e-Khas was the hall of private audience. It was the most majestic structure, rectangular chamber with floral designs, and it was where the golden throne or the peacock throne or the Takht-e-Taus was kept, and Takht-e-Taus was the peacock throne which was kept at Diwan-e-Khas. The next was Diwan-e-Aam. Diwan-e-Aam was the hall of public audience, and this was the place where Shah Jahan used to listen to the complaints of the common people through the jharoka or the balcony where he was. The next is Rang Mahal, Moti Masjid, Nahar-e-Bisht. Nahar-e-Bisht is also known as Stream of Paradise. Now, this Stream of Paradise is important because it was the continuous water running channel which was built through the imperial private apartments, and the idea was to keep this region cool when there is extreme heat in the regions of Delhi, and potentially we could say this acted as air conditioning system during that time. Also, the water for this Nahar-e-Bisht was brought from Yamuna through a tower that was erected. The next is Hayat Bakhsh Bagh. Hayat Bakhsh Bagh was built as a garden in the region of Red Fort. Now, this garden, Hayat Bakhsh Bagh, is life bestowing garden. The next is Nakar Khana. Nakar Khana was known as the drum house, and it was a place where ceremonial music was played, and people were then brought with elephants, horses were left inside the fort. The next is two important gates at the Red Fort. One is the Delhi Gate, the other is the Lahori Gate. Delhi Gate faces towards the south, Lahori Gate faces towards the west, and the name is Lahori Gate because it faces towards Lahore in Pakistan. Also, Meena Bazar is one of the important rituals, we could say, that was started during the time of Humayun. The ladies of the noblemen or the harem were brought here, used to come here for purchase, and this was where most of the market was organized for around 5 to 8 days during the time of Navroz or the New Year festival which was celebrated. Also, as of now, Red Fort is a UNESCO heritage site. This site was built by Ustad Ahmed, and Ustad Ahmed called this as Qila-e-Mubarak or the Blessed Fort. The construction started in 1639 and it lasted for 9 years. Finally, after 9 years, Red Fort was built. So Red Fort, again an important architectural marvel during the time of Shah Jahan after Taj Mahal. And the next is Jama Masjid. Jama Masjid is one of the largest mosques of India. It stands on a high-rise platform indicating the glory of Islam and has been decorated with precious stones, gems and even gold work. Shah Jahan, as we know, was again fond of painting similar to his father Jahangir. But this art declined with Aurangzeb, his son, who rose to power after a rebel among the four sons of Shah Jahan, as we have discussed. So this was understanding how Shah Jahan rose to power. His empire witnessed peace and prosperity, and lots of architectural marvels were seen during the time of Shah Jahan.